Day 20. Seriously, how did they do it? In 52 days. Above the horse gate, the priest made repairs, each in front of his own house. Next to them, Zadok, son of Emir, made repairs opposite his house. Next to him, Shemaiah made repairs. Next to him, Hananiah repaired another section. Next to them, Meshullam made repairs opposite his living quarters. Nehemiah 3:28-30. Every great work, every great accomplishment has been brought into manifestation through holding to the vision. And often just before the big achievement comes, apparent failure and discouragement. Florence Scovel Shinn. The rich are the scum of the earth in every country. G.K. Chesterton. You must be kidding. You mean to tell me that Nehemiah got everyone repairing, rebuilding, and remodeling his or her own part of the wall? Ingenious! Nehemiah pulled a Tom Sawyer. But he didn't sit back and fish. Nehemiah and his people started this journey of 1,000 steps with the undeniable call from God to accomplish a great task, with people who had a great stake in the success of the project. This was a critical element in the fortress being built. It is a critical element in your financial fortress being completed too. They worked on the walls behind their own homes. They didn't mind who owned what and where the property ended and someone else's property began. They worked on their part of the wall and helped their neighbors work on their part of the wall. This financial fortress will require the entire family behind the mission. This is not the time to allow pride to sabotage the mission. It is time to come clean with the family. Bring them into the equation. There's nothing like having your loved ones with you to lend a hand and bring some reality and maybe even some levity to the situation. You say you can't tell the entire family where you have been and where you must go? You think they are too young, too fragile, too condemning, too condescending? Roger thought so too. He knew he was worth more dead than alive. Roger was a missionary with a secret. He had been using credit cards a lot and was embarrassed to reveal this to his wife. The excuse he gave was her fragile health. Emotionally, she may not be able to handle the shock and the pressure of facing the consequences of their already stretched household finances. Roger sank deeper and deeper into debt. He would get to the mailbox before his wife and hide the bills before she could see them. His nerves were getting frayed, and he hated living this life of deceit. Not enough to come clean, though. His only other option was to continue to be deceived, as he deceived. The mission had petty cash that he was in charge of administering. Money that was supposed to be used to purchase items necessary for the mission, when checks were either not available or not accepted. There was always an ample supply. He would never have borrowed a cent if he didn't have a plan to repay within a day. The day grew to 2 days, then a week, then a month, and on and on. Now, he was even more afraid to come clean with his wife and family. He was a missionary, a man of God. He could hear the sneers and jeers of those who wait for such a moment when one of God's children fails. Then they can scoff at them and announce to the world how followers of Christ are all hypocrites and insincere and greedy for gain. He was unable to work or function or even live. His last-ditch effort was to deliver himself into the hands of a sovereign God who has the power to snuff out life or to deliver those facing a certain death. What would he do in this situation? Well, what would you do? Is it true that a bruised reed he will not break? Roger was not prepared to face this question mark in his soul. He examined the life insurance papers. There was no suicide clause. He was free to explore all options. The amount of the life insurance proceeds far exceeded the amount he now owed. His wife and boys would have a clean start. This would be one last attempt at a solution. He had heard that Larry Burkett's organization, Crown Financial Ministries, had financial counselors. He received my name, and we met at my office one day. "I am worth more dead than alive," he exclaimed with tears welling up in his eyes. I was speechless, and I love to talk. He said his wife was not able to hear about the debts, and then he showed me the financial damage. It brought the whole situation to a sobering climax for a critical decision. God's megaphone was blaring. I did not know what to say, so I suggested we pray. I don't remember what I prayed, but I do remember the pull of my heart to draw God closer to both of us. I was begging for his wisdom. All I could say, as he showed me his financial mess, was that God would allow his wife to receive this information without the devastating results that appeared to be far worse than suicide. We then prayed specifically for his wife and family. Waiting to hear the verdict was like waiting for a death row pardon call from the governor. He called and said, "You'll not believe this. My wife said she was with me, and that God would get us through, and that we could even sell the townhouse to pay off the debts because I was more important to her than the house." Roger's faith was stretched that day, and so was mine. He is now debt-free, completely transparent, and affecting massive life change in more lives than he will ever know. Have a family meeting to bring everyone up to speed. I know you live in the real world, not a Leave It to Beaver world. That is fine. But the family meeting may take on a fairly different dynamic than what you may expect. Author Nick Morgan, who wrote Working the Room, says to start with communicating the problem and then take your family from why there must be change to how this change can be accomplished. Rest assured, God will give you the strength to go toe-to-toe against the status quo. Everyone needs to know you mean business, and it is not about your agenda this time. It is about his.